Title: Adulterous spouse apprehended during divorce proceedings, making no progress. Jay then expelled her, called me up and said, "Serve her!" So I served her at the drug den she ended up in. Hi, everybody. We return with your favorite family attorney from Texas, bringing you another compelling story. If this is the first time you know my channel, please subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on interesting stories. You have read the title. Let's dive right into it. So today's subject is hand over the substances. Hey, True and all you loyal followers. We've read through many of your comments and noticed that quite a few of you wanted to know what makes our relationship work. We thought about it and decided to share one aspect while also keeping it relevant to communication in today's digital age. We've noticed and have numerous stories where someone hides their phone or acts suspiciously about social media or has some secret profile which sets off red flags. We also observe that these stories typically go two ways. One, the husband notices something is off and snoops, or two, they pick up the wife's phone and a notification pops up saying you are amazing, I love you, or something similar, and things spiral downhill from there. Firstly, one thing we always notice in this first type of story is that the betrayed husband always apologizes to the reader for snooping. What the heck? My spouse and I believe, rightly or wrongly, that there should be no significant secrets in a marriage. I agree with no substantial secrets. Therefore, there can't possibly be any snooping. My spouse and I do password, protect our phones. However, she knows all of my passwords and I know hers. We also regularly pick up the nearest phone just to make a call without worrying about stumbling upon evidence of some torrid affair. Moreover, my spouse can search my phone at will, and I am allowed to search hers whenever. She will see that I'm on level 934 of some silly candy-crushing game, and I usually find out that she's watching another Animal Crossing podcast. She is welcome to look, as am I. I don't mind if she looks, as I know I haven't done anything, and she invites me to look as she knows she hasn't done anything. We don't trash, talk to friends or family or anything like that. We approach each other with any concerns and have a conversation. Ultimately, in a marriage, it is our opinion that there is no reasonable expectation of privacy. The second that one partner starts to hide their phone, that's a huge red flag, and as we believe there is no reasonable expectation of privacy in a marriage, we would not feel guilty about snooping, and we don't believe others should either. We do believe that this changes a bit depending on the stage of your relationship, and in the above, we are talking about being married, not boyfriend and girlfriend. We do think that it is unwise to snoop at the beginnings of a relationship, but the further along into the relationship one travels, the more the expectation of privacy dissolves until marriage, in which there is no expectation of privacy. That is just how my spouse and I view it, but that transparency is one of the things that make our relationship so strong. Finally, my spouse and I do warn each other of our inconsequential or minor secrets. This is typically like, hey, don't go in this room as I haven't wrapped your presents or I spent X amount from the checking account. Don't worry about it. In those situations, for us, it is simply to keep the surprise from being ruined. If she or I proceeds to snoop, then that's on her or me. So that's that part of our relationship. Full access to everything all the time. No expectations, but with understanding on the it's Christmas birthday necessities. So without further ado, hand over the substances one day, Jay comes into our office and wants to file for a divorce. However, he wants to sit on it as he is preparing for the worst. Jay tells us that he is married to Key and has been for some time. They have 5 kids and Kay is a stay-at-home mom. The problem has arisen that Kay is not doing anything at all. Not cleaning, not taking the 5 kids to school, not talking to the teachers, nothing. Jay was also concerned that Kay had become a drug addict and she always had prescription painkillers around. Jay stated that he knew Kay was doing nothing, but he suspected she was doing someone at the time he retained me. He did not have any hard proof but wanted to go ahead and file, as if he was wrong. He could just dismiss the case and go from there. He understood that she was taking painkillers, the fun ones, but that was it. So I took a minimal retainer, filed and sat on it, and told him to call me with updates so we could proceed forward. During this time, Jay started to really dig, took time off work while pretending to go to work so he could see what was going on. On day 1, Jay took the kids to school, and about an hour after Jay pretended to leave for work, Guy AA arrives at the house. Guy stays for a bit, then leaves. Then, in the afternoon, Guy B shows up at the house, stays for a bit, then leaves. Jay took off from work for a week and proceeded to dig and dig, as he just needed to know how far down the rabbit hole this would go. By the end of the week, Jay had seen Guy C through Jay come to the house. He would pick up the kids and come home as if nothing was wrong, but would continue to dig. The next week, Jay confronted Kay, and at first, she denied having an affair, much less 10, and tried to evade and dodge. Getting nowhere, G then expelled her, called me up and said, "Serve her." So I served her at the drug den she ended up in. Fast forward a bit, and it comes out that she was trading intimacy for drugs, namely painkillers. She also had been going to see multiple doctors and getting more than one prescription for happy fun time drugs, filling them at different pharmacies in the area. This was back when you could get away with this kind of thing even before cell phones as we know them. Long story short, Kay retains the most unscrupulous, unpleasant, most senile, angry, unethical, grouchy, and hard to work with attorney she could find. We will refer to him as Mr. Grumpy Pants. Mr. Grumpy Pants was just as awful as K, 2 peas in a pod. Mr. Grumpy Pants was so bad that my spouse and I instituted a no-contact policy in the office with Mr. Grumpy Pants, unless it was in writing. This made things difficult as Mr. Grumpy Pants refused to have or turn on a fax machine, which is a violation of local rules. He also had no physical address and worked from AP. Box and refused to communicate in any way besides calling and cursing at us or our staff. So begins a long and very arduous discovery process. As you know, this is the process where the parties exchange documents and such in writing. As Mr. Grumpy Pants has no physical address, it becomes very difficult to serve him with discovery or to answer the discovery he has served on us. In the interim, Kay, who is now on full self-destruct mode, has picked up her first 3 Dewey. Since the prosecutor did not have time to adjudicate the first 2 Dewey by the time Kay got the third, all 3 Deweys were unfortunately considered misdemeanors. In any event, I, of course, order up the dashcam footage from said Dewey. Kay is obviously wasted, so we have yet another temporary order hearing to keep Kay from the kids, and I try to bring in this new evidence. However, since Mr. Grumpy Pants has refused to receive it, this is before... He objects to not having notice, and the judge is forced to continue the hearing to a later date, so Mr. Grumpy Pants can more adequately prepare. So in the hallway, I try to give him his copy of the videos, and he flat out refuses to take them. He promptly cursed me out about how I was a little jerk and blah blah blah. Whatever! So I did what any reasonable attorney would do. I waited till he got to his car, and then I followed him to his office, which was not listed. I had the discovery with me, watched as he entered the building, and followed as he walked into his office space. I then wrote down the address and suite number and whatnot to cover my bases. I then knocked on his door. He shouted, "Who is it? What the heck do you want?" I just knocked again. Finally, after yelling at the door, he got up, came to the door, and opened it. There I was. I said to him, "Here are the videos," and before I could finish, he yelled, "Screw you!" and he slammed the door on my hand. I managed to pull my hand out, but the discovery was now lodged between the door and the jamb. He then opened the door and threw the discovery at me. I ducked. He slammed the door, cussing up a storm. So, being that I was assaulted and frankly tired of his antics, I called the cops and filed a report. When the cops got there, they, of course, were not surprised. They knew how crazy Mr. Grumpy Pants was. I didn't want to press charges, but I wanted a report showing that the discovery had been delivered in accordance with the court's order, that he is aware that the discovery has been served. Some of you may be wondering why I didn't press charges. I had other plans, namely sanctions. Sanctions are the court's remedies when a lawyer or party gets out of line. In Texas, the court has broad discretion in what those sanctions can be. Most of the time, though, sanctions come in the form of money. I didn't want Mr. Grumpy Pants money, as I knew he would never pay it. I wanted his license to practice law. So I set my motion for sanctions at the same time as the motion to prevent Kay from having access to the kids. This time, with the police report in hand, the judge has no choice but to go forward. We could keep Kay from seeing the kids, and then it's time for the sanctions portion. The judge reviews everything and flat out asks what I wanted. His exact words were, "How much do you want from Mr. Grumpy Pants?" I said, "Judge, I don't want a dime. I want Mr. Grumpy Pants to have to take the multi-state professional responsibility exam and achieve an 85. If he fails, he should have his license revoked until such time as he passes." I have never seen so many jaws drop at once. The judge looked at me, smiled, and said, "Granted." He then set the matter for final trial in 45 days. So we get to trial, and this turns into a 2-day affair. Day 1, Jay goes over everything and does well, and we get all the good stuff and about the multiple affairs, the pill popping, the alleged Deweys, etc. Then Kay takes the stand and tries to refute everything, but by the end of the day I have still not been able to do my cross-examination, and it was going to begin the next day at 9:00 a.m. sharp. One of the main complaints that Kay seemed to have, though, was that Jay was holding her prescription medicine hostage. So as things were wrapping up, the judge was about to step down. I had an idea. Give her all the drugs. I say, "Judge, before you go, I would like to show that we are handing Kay her bag of prescription pills as she has requested today, and they include," and I read into the record all the various prescriptions of happy fun time drugs. She takes them, and we all leave. The next morning, Jay and I are there, and so is Mr. Grumpy Pants. So is the judge, so is the court reporter, the bailiff, the court coordinator. But Kay is nowhere to be seen. 9:0 turns into 9:30, 9:30 turns into 10:0. We're just sitting and waiting as it is my turn to cross. Examine, there's no one there to question. 10:0 turns into 10:30, and then at 10:30, 8 in staggers Kay. Honestly, I kind of felt bad for her. She was a mess. She mumbled about a car accident that kept her from getting here on time. The judge nodded at the bailiff, who called around, and of course, no car accidents had been reported at all. Kay was still intoxicated from the pills we gave her the evening before, completely out of it. Jay kept looking at me, wanting me to do my thing, but honestly, I didn't have the heart. I could tell by the judge's look that I should just stand down. So, in order to appease my client, I was asking Kay if she drove here, to which she said yes. Out came the cuffs. I was asking her a few more questions, but really didn't want to upset the judge, as I knew we had won. So Jay gets the kids, gets all his stuff and his retirement, and no child support. Kay gets another night in jail. The only ding for Jay was that the judge did order him to pay some limited spousal maintenance, since Kay was clearly unable to take care of herself at the time. I made sure to ask the judge for a limitation on the spousal maintenance to include a cohabitation clause. The court granted the clause, and this prevented Kay from living with another person with whom she had a romantic relationship. Spousal maintenance will cease as soon as Kay moves in with any boyfriend. Not surprisingly, that is what she did once she got out of jail. As such, I immediately filed a motion to terminate spousal maintenance, which was granted, and my client only had to pay 2 months of spousal maintenance. Mr. Grumpy Pants was then required to take the multi-state professional responsibility exam, which he failed. His license was suspended, and he had to wait until the next exam and pass it before he could practice again. A few years down the road, I heard from my client, who called to tell me that Kay had overdosed. I feel bad for all of them, except for Mr. Grumpy Pants. Lessons learned. All right, lessons learned. Number 1. In Texas, if you file for divorce, you do not have to serve right away, but can sit on it and dismiss it if you reconcile. This way, you can reserve the petition or spot, which gives you a slight advantage. Number 2. In Texas, lawyers can be sanctioned for unprofessional conduct. We do not have immunity. We are looking at you, divorce court. Number 3. In Texas, spousal maintenance can be conditioned and terminated if the party receiving spousal maintenance begins to cohabitate with their partner. This does not even have to be the affair partner, just any new partner. You need a good lawyer to make sure this condition gets into the order. Number 4. Always show up on time to court and sober. The best trick I have learned was to give the addict their drugs back on the record, a trick I learned from our mentor. 5. Again, you can have your say or you can have your way, but usually not both. I purposely did not want to cross. Examine K because I already knew that we had won when she showed up late and wasted. What was the point? I was asking a few questions to please Jay and got her arrested, but even then, the judge was clearly not pleased. This may have been the reason he awarded spousal maintenance. The judge even later was asking me why I bothered to ask a single question. The hardest lesson for any lawyer to learn is when to speak up and when to shut up. Follow your attorney's advice on when this time is. Number 6. Make sure you vet your lawyers carefully. Being the oldest and having the most experience does not necessarily mean that they are a good attorney for your case. Do not be afraid to interview more than one attorney. Until next time, we remain your friendly Texas neighborhood family lawyers. This is not legal advice. Guys, let me give my thoughts. Thank you for another one. Another story, guys. Awesome story. He wins in the end. He won in the end. He got his children. He had to pay a couple of months of spousal support. And cool, that only lasted a couple of months. It's just sad, man, to see this woman let drugs just take her out of everything. She lost her kids. They had 5 kids. You were a stay-at-home mom. You didn't have to do anything. And just like stories that we read recently about stay-at-home moms.
What? She just got bored.
She was bored. She wanted some excitement. Like, reading that, it just reminded me of that one story where, I was a stay-home mom. I had kids. I was tired of being a mom, so I got bored and I wanted some excitement. And someone in the comments said something funny. Oh, you were bored, so you just skipped bungee jumping and went straight into cheating. I thought that was hilarious. Shout out to that guy. But seriously, you wanted some excitement because staying at home, not paying bills, and raising your kids was just horrible. So you got hooked on drugs and you started having intimate relations for those drugs. Putting your husband at risk, putting your kids at risk. She had these guys showing up at her home that her husband pays for, where her kids sleep. That's sad. That's really sad. I'm not mad that you were asking a couple of questions that got her locked up and put in cuffs. I'm not mad at all. Savage mode for the lawyer. Our friendly Texas lawyer went savage mode on this one. You got the other guy's license taken away and you got her arrested. Salute to you. I have no sympathy for Mr. Grumpy Pants. He assaulted you. He was playing games, not giving his address. All that silly crap. He's a piece of garbage, and I don't feel bad for her. What she did to her kids and to her family, putting everybody at risk. She should go to jail. She went to jail, rightfully so. I'm not mad. Guys, let me know what you think about this in the comments, and I will catch you guys at the next one.